Now let's review the stages of the scientific method, using an example from a real experiment. The first step of the process is to ask questions about the world around us. Ideas for a research study can come from anywhere. After observing a friend's puzzling behavior, after a particularly impactful personal experience, or after reading a colleague's recently published report. For example, in 2015, researchers Zouhri and Rateau conducted an experiment with the goal of better understanding the black sheep effect. To get started, they asked the following broad questions: what elements form our social representations, and which ones influence our social identity? The next step of the scientific method is to search the literature for potential answers to our initial question and for existing knowledge. The most common way to do this is to rely on electronic databases that are available through a library system, like Academic Search Premier and EBSCOhost. We can also use Google Scholar or our favorite internet browser to find information. Peer-reviewed evidence is considered the gold standard, but we can also use other sources to better understand the context. Whenever possible, we search beyond our disciplinary boundaries and learn as much as we can from multiple perspectives. We can see the sources that Zouhri and Rateau used in their 2015 study by checking the in-text citations and the list of references. It's clear they mostly relied on peer-reviewed journal articles and edited books, which is common in academic research. Based on the existing knowledge, we then develop one or more hypotheses about the variables of interest. These predictions outline the conditions under which some relevant event will occur. For instance, we might think that an increase in one variable will cause a decrease in another one, but only for a specific group of people. Our predictions then guide the rest of the process, such as the methods we choose, the procedures we design, the statistical analyses we use, and our interpretation of the results. Take a look at Zouhri and Rateau's hypothesis from their 2015 study. They predicted that in-group members who deviate from the majority are evaluated more negatively than out-group members. Once we develop our predictions, it's time to transform the variables from abstract terms into operational definitions. These are the specific procedures for measuring or manipulating the variables. An operational definition is specific enough that two researchers at different institutions conducting different studies can measure the same variable in the exact same way. Zouhri and Rateau's first independent variable was group identification. They defined it as whether the target person was in the participants' in-group or out-group, and they measured it with a questionnaire using a scale from 1, which meant absolutely disagree, to 9, which meant absolutely agree. Their second independent variable was type of opinion. It was defined as whether the target's expressed opinion was different from the group's central or peripheral social representation of the verb studying. The group's central opinion was that gaining knowledge is the main objective of studying, while their peripheral opinion was that gaining social status is the main objective. Finally, the researcher's dependent variable was the participants' evaluation of the target. They operationalized it as whether the participants' impression of the target was positive or negative. This variable was measured with a 28-item questionnaire, using a scale from 1, meaning not at all positive or negative, to 6, meaning extremely positive or extremely negative.